Associated with the syntax in recent years, virtuoso guitarist Allan Holdsworth.
When this thing came along, it was just like I'd been waiting for it all my life, because it was an instrument that I understood because the notes are where they are on the guitar, so it will understand the language I've come to understand and translate it into one which will control synthesizers seriously.
Well, now with these guitar and bass synths.
Coming up on the new music, B-movies and guitar wizard Allan Holdsworth.
Allan Holdsworth is one of the pioneers of the fusion movement of the 70s, playing with bands like Soft Machine and Gong, and people like Bill Bruford and Jean-Luc Ponty. And he's still one of the most innovative guitar players in the world, but he remains relatively unknown, except for a lot of guitar aficionados. Allan Holdsworth recently has applied this astonishing technique of his to an instrument called the syntax, which is a type of guitar synthesizer, but it's so expensive and complicated that you rarely see one performed live. Now, the best way to show you Allan Holdsworth in performance is to go down to the Diamond Club and shoot him live. But the problem is that Allan's a very shy guy, a condition that was complicated by the fact that he heard that some of the Toronto guitar gods were coming down to the performance. So he asked us only to shoot him at soundcheck, which we did. When we arrived at soundcheck, we were surprised to find that there was a whole crowd of people waiting to get in hours before the show. Why you lined up 6 hours early to see Allan Holdsworth?
He's the only guy in the world that's playing the way he is.
He's the best. He's the best. He's an immaculate musician. He's an immaculate technician. I don't know where to go on. First time I heard him, he just blew me away.
What is it about Allan Holdsworth that you're here to see him tonight?
Well, he's got into, you know it's Allan Holdsworth the minute you hear his music, right? So how many artists are like that, right? There's very few.
If you were wanting to play like him, you'd have to say, well, I want to take 10 years out of my life.
Every article I read about you starts off with testimonials from people like Steve Vai and Carlos Santana and Eddie Van Halen, all of whom say you're the best guitar player on the planet.
I don't know why, is I'm not really involved in my own, like the promotional aspects of it. I leave that up to other people, And I think that's really got sort of been overused, and it's really tired, and a lot of those things are old, and I just rather sort of get rid of that kind of tag, really. I don't like playing to guitar players, actually. I'd rather just play to, like ordinary people. But obviously it's difficult with this kind of music because you never get a chance to, nobody ever really gets a chance to hear it because radio won't play it, because it's not jazz, they don't know what to call it, so they don't know where to put it. So it's not, obviously the music's not very commercial, and it'll never be totally acceptable by the general public. I would have never expected that. But I think that there's an awful lot of people out there that would like it if they had a chance to hear it. And it's like the thing I always keep saying is if you've never tasted an orange, how do you know whether you like it or not?
If you you were to describe your own music, would you say that you put together the best of what rock and roll has to offer and the best of, say, what jazz has to offer?
It's hard for me to say it's the best of anything, because that's not for me to say, you know. But it's a combination of both types of music, because I use more like a rock kind of guitar sound, but I don't play rock music. And all of the compositions that I write are vehicles for improvisation, specifically, because that's what I'm most interested in. So vehicles for improvisation means that the music's jazz to me, because that's what the word jazz means.
Is it possible for someone who does as complicated a music as you do to just knock off a 3-minute pop song and then sit back on the royalties for a while to buy you some time, or do they not?
It doesn't work like that, because, no, I mean, you could do it, theoretically. People have done it, but the problem is when you do that, then all of a sudden somebody starts playing it on the radio, and then you attract the wrong crowd, because you've attracted a crowd to this kind of music, and then you present them with something else which they're not going to like. And there's something sort of fake about that, you know, is I like to find a way to make what we're doing acceptable, you know, rather than just doing something deliberately so that to reach people. Like, there's not a lot of guys playing the Syntax, you know, for example, and it's a pretty bizarre looking machine, but it doesn't matter. But I was thinking, you know, in a pop context, or if you were on a major label or something like that, they'd probably play that to death, you know, the Space Machine or whatever. But, you know, as far as the general public probably don't even know that an instrument like that exists.